Like most Kubrick films, Eyes Wide Shut is a tightly constructed web of intriguing ideas and powerful cinematic moments. It was the first and last Kubrick film I saw in a movie theater. Since the enigmatic filmmaker made very few films, and there were long stretches in between releases, I was too young to see his previous work at the cinema. I instead caught everything on video. Eyes Wide Shut gained momentum in the late 90s as word spread that Kubrick was putting together a new film with Hollywood's at-the-time power couple of Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. The Secret of Film took a whopping 2 years to shoot, extremely unusual for a Hollywood production, but par for the course for Stanley Kubrick, who was notorious for taking ages to put a film together. As the release date loomed, excitement grew, for finally another Kubrick film was on offering. They were events in a way that almost no other director was able to create. The mystique around Kubrick was at a fever pitch, so it came as a shock when he suddenly died, mere days after screening a finished cut of what would be his final film. Kubrick's death created a whirlwind of attention for Eyes Wide Shut, and conspiracy theories would abound about the director's death being connected to the content of the film. Content that apparently was a little too close to realistically portraying the activities of the elite underworld. But for me, the film was an epic statement from the late director about marriage, infidelity, male-female dynamics, and the unconscious, dreamlike reality people create for themselves when they allow their minds to wander and disconnect from reality. As complex as the film may seem to people, it's really just about a couple who don't communicate properly. A marriage on the rocks with the characters unable or unwilling to see past the illusion that they project onto the world. The opening party scene is unambiguously about temptation and infidelity. There are 3 instances in which this occurs: Alice's flirtatious interactions with the Hungarian man, Bill's flirtatious encounter with the models, and Ziegler's crisis in the bathroom with the naked woman. Each of these scenes presents a situation in which either Alice or Bill is tempted to cheat on the other. With the Ziegler situation, Bill is shown how easy it is to establish and hide a relationship with someone who isn't his wife. Basically, the party scene is one long setup for their argument later in the bedroom. Alice's bombshell revelation to Bill about her secret desire for the naval officer during their trip to Cape Cod is what sets the main storyline into motion, and it highlights a key gender dynamic. The women in this film seem mostly there to fulfill male sexual desire. The models at the party who rely on their looks and sexuality to maintain a career, the naked woman in Ziegler's bathroom, the prostitute who offers Bill a night of fun, Millich's underage daughter, the hired women at the mansion, and even the prostitute's friend. Basically, women in this film are presented purely as tools for male pleasure, with almost no inner lives of their own. This is what makes Alice's speech to Bill all the more powerful, as she is asserting her own will and desire for satisfaction, and confesses she would have even left her family if it meant just one night with a naval officer. Here is an example of a woman who has her own inner life, desires, and ultimately a strong enough will to shed her past if it meant being able to quench those desires. And Alice's revelation is in total contrast to Bill, who literally spends the entire movie refusing to express his anger over what was said to him. Essentially, their marriage is so fragile it could crumble in a single night. Bill's adventure from this moment on leads him from one potentially sexual situation to the next, but each more and more dangerous than the last. The first is a simple but also funny scene in which the daughter of one of his dead patients reveals she is in love with him and wants to leave her boyfriend Carl and not go to Michigan with him. It is interesting how coincidental this scene is. Mere moments after Alice confesses she wanted to cheat on him and maybe leave him, Bill is presented with a situation in which he could essentially do the same thing. This is part of the dreamlike quality Eyes Wide Shut possesses. Bill's nightly adventure is almost like one long dream sequence in which he is whisked from one improbable situation to the next. Take the following sequence with the prostitute who invites Bill to her place for sex. How likely is it that a streetwalker would bring clients back to the place in which she resides? A hotel or the client's place is much more likely. She also kisses Bill, which I'm not sure most prostitutes would willingly do. The scene seems a lot more romantic and something out of a fantasy than an actual encounter with a streetwalker. She even refuses the money Bill is going to pay her, even though they don't engage in sex. Highly improbable. And this becomes another step on the ladder into dangerous territory. Sex with a prostitute cannot be the safest act in the world. After Bill meets with his old friend Nick and gets wind of the orgy, he goes to find a mask and costume. The owner's underage daughter is caught up with two much older men, and she whispers what is surely some sort of sexually provocative statement into Bill's ear, offering herself. Sex with a minor could land you some serious jail time, and the orgy, with members of some powerful circle of elite, is even more dangerous, as Bill is publicly humiliated and threatened, being asked to remove his clothes. No doubt he probably would have been sacrificed or harmed physically in some way. Instead, a woman who had been warning him to leave is taken away and likely killed, as Bill finds out later. Again, Bill never discusses his feelings with Alice, and this repression is expressed externally into increasingly dangerous situations. Kubrick seems to be making a statement about the dangers of infidelity and not being transparent with your partner. And as Bill goes over his earlier tracks the next day, circumstances continue to hammer home the point that his sexual curiosities are best left unfulfilled. AIDS, murder, child prostitution, and betrayed loyalties are enough excitement for one night. Bill has to wake up and return to the reality of his marriage, one which needs some serious repair. In the end, Eyes Wide Shut is a cautionary tale about the dangers of not only indulging one's desires and impulses, but also ignoring them. And these desires are a fundamental part of the human experience. Eyes Wide Shut was an enigmatic film upon release, being the last film of one of the world's greatest filmmakers, and like all of Kubrick's films, seems to only improve with age. If you enjoyed this video, consider hitting the like and subscribe button, as I'll be posting more content in the future. Thanks for watching.